Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. You picked a really good video to start with, because what we are talking about today is one of the most talked about moments to come out of the BTS Army World Tour so far, and it happened just days ago in Madrid, Spain. Make sure you hit that subscribe button before we dive in, because I cover BTS content regularly and you do not want to miss what is coming next on this channel. Okay, let's get into it. Before we get into the details, I need to set the scene for you properly, because what went down at the BTS Army World Tour concert in Madrid on the night of June 27, 2026, was not just a concert moment. It was a reminder of something much bigger, of the kind of bond that exists between BTS and ARMY that you genuinely cannot manufacture. You can rehearse a show for months, you can design the most spectacular stage in the world, you can sell out a 66,000-seat stadium in minutes. But you cannot plan for the raw, collective, protective instinct that fans showed in the heat of that Saturday night in Spain. And that is exactly what we are talking about today. So let's start from the beginning. The BTS Army World Tour had officially arrived in Europe, with Madrid serving as the launch point for the entire European leg of the tour. 2 nights at the Riyadh Air Metropolitano Stadium, home of Atlético de Madrid, and both nights were already historic before a single note was played, because this was the first time in BTS's entire career that they had performed in Spain. Let that sink in for a second. All of these years of being one of the biggest, most impactful musical acts on the entire planet. All of those sold-out arenas and stadiums across North America and Asia and Latin America. And Spain had never gotten a full BTS concert until now. So the weight of these 2 nights was enormous, not just for the fans inside the stadium, but for ARMY across Spain and all of Europe who had been waiting for this moment for years. Fans had traveled from France, Germany, Portugal, Italy, the UK, and every corner of the continent to be there. The city of Madrid had been turning purple for days before the concerts even started. The official BTS pop-up store drew lines that stretched around the block every single morning. Fan gatherings, trading events, and ARMY meetups were popping up all over the city. The local Spanish media described Madrid in those days before the concerts as having the energy of a city hosting a World Cup final, that level of electricity, that level of anticipation. Day 1 was on June 26, and it was, by every account, an absolute explosion of emotion and energy. More than 66,000 people packed into the Riyadh Air Metropolitano for the group's first show, and the atmosphere before BTS even walked onto the stage was already electric. Light sticks were glowing purple across the entire stadium. Chants were echoing from every section. And when BTS finally appeared and J-Hope stepped forward and shouted "Vamos a volvernos locos," which means "let's go crazy," in Spanish, the crowd responded with a roar that shook the entire building. Over 23 songs across the night, BTS moved between their new Ararang album and the massive hits that their catalog is filled with, and the crowd was fully locked in for every single second of it. Every lyric, every dance break, every moment where a member stepped to the edge of the stage and made eye contact with someone in the front rows. And then there was Jimin. Because there is always a Jimin moment, isn't there? In one of the most emotionally charged spoken segments of Day 1, Jimin used an interpreter to address the audience directly, and what he said brought the house down. He told the crowd, "I kept thinking, why are we only visiting Spain now? For the next tour, we won't leave Madrid out." The stadium erupted. Fans who had waited years for BTS to come to their country heard that promise directly from Jimin's mouth, and the emotional release in that moment was something that people who were there described as almost overwhelming. Day 1 was everything Spanish ARMY had dreamed it would be. But then came Day 2. Saturday, June 27th. The second and final night of the Madrid run. And while the music was every bit as powerful as the night before, and the performances were every bit as breathtaking, what happened inside the crowd on that second night sparked an entirely different kind of conversation online. A conversation that spread fast, through TikTok, through fan Twitter and fan accounts on Instagram, through ARMY community spaces and fan forums, and it got people talking seriously about something that the fandom cares about very deeply, the safety of BTS, and the responsibility that ARMY carries toward one another inside concert spaces. What circulated on social media following Day 2 actually involved not one but 2 separate incidents that fans were reacting to. And I want to walk through both of them carefully and honestly, because context matters enormously here and I want to make sure we are talking about this the right way. The first incident, and this is the one that got the most intense emotional reaction from ARMY online, involved a moment during the concert near the front barrier. According to multiple fan accounts and videos that were shared across TikTok in the hours following the show, there was a person near the front of the floor section who allegedly made a move that appeared to be an attempt to get over or past the security barrier, and this happened in an area where Jimin was performing nearby. Fan-filmed footage circulating online showed what appeared to be security personnel responding quickly and apprehending the individual before the situation could escalate any further. Fans who were in the surrounding sections described the moment as genuinely alarming to witness in person. 1 second you are watching your favorite performer in the middle of an incredible show, and the next second something is happening a few feet away from you that is not part of the show, and that makes your heart drop. Comments across TikTok and fan spaces were flooded with reactions. Is this real? Did someone actually try to get past the barrier to reach Jimin? Why does this keep happening? I was right there and my heart stopped. The fear in the fan community was real and it was immediate. Now, I want to be clear and responsible about how I talk about this, because what circulated was primarily fan-reported content from social media, not an official statement from the venue or from HYBE. The specific details of exactly what the person's intentions were, exactly how close they got, whether this was impulsive behavior in the heat of the concert moment or something more deliberate, those details were not officially confirmed at the time this video was made. What is confirmed by the fan accounts and the footage is that security responded quickly, the individual was stopped, the concert was not interrupted, and BTS was safe. The show continued. Everyone was okay. But the moment left a mark on everyone who witnessed it. The second incident from that same night was different in nature entirely. According to fan accounts from the Day 2 crowd, a male attendee was reportedly removed from the venue after behaving in an extremely disrespectful and inappropriate manner near other fans inside the stadium. The behavior described was humiliating and completely unacceptable in any public space, let alone at a concert. Fan responses online were sharp and direct. There was zero tolerance in the ARMY community for what was being described, and fans made it very clear that that kind of conduct has no place at a BTS show or anywhere else. Again, this circulated through fan-reported channels rather than official venue statements. But the reason I am including it in this conversation is because of how ARMY responded to it and what that response reveals about the character of this fanbase. Because here is what really stood out about the aftermath of Madrid Day 2. It was not just the shock. It was not just the outrage. It was the questions that ARMY started asking, thoughtful, practical, community-focused questions. How did these individuals make it through the security screening process? What protocols does a venue the size of Riyadh Air Metropolitano have in place for situations like these? What can individual fans do when they see something concerning happening near them in a crowd of 66,000 people? What is the right way to respond that keeps yourself and the people around you safe while also making sure that security is informed and can act? These are not the questions of a fan base that is just looking for drama. These are the questions of a community that is genuinely invested in the safety and well-being of every single person inside the venues where BTS performs, including the artists themselves. And that brings me to what I really want to talk about today, which is the nature of ARMY as a protective community. Because I think this is something that people outside the fandom often do not fully understand, and the Madrid moment is one of the clearest examples of it that we have seen during this entire tour. If you have ever been to a BTS concert, or if you have watched enough concert footage and fan vlogs to have a sense of what it is like inside, you already know that ARMY at a BTS show is not a passive audience. This is not a crowd of people who bought tickets to sit back and watch something happen to them. ARMY at a BTS concert is organized, coordinated, emotionally present, and deeply aware of the shared space they are occupying. They spend weeks preparing fan projects, synchronized light stick colors that turn entire stadiums into visual spectacles, mass-coordinated sing-alongs where the entire crowd carries a melody together, multilingual chants that echo through venues in every city on the tour. They look out for fans around them who are overwhelmed or emotional. They help strangers navigate the venue. They make space for people who need it. They share what they have with people they have never met before and will probably never see again. And when something goes wrong, when something feels off, when a moment of tension enters a space that is supposed to be purely joyful, ARMY responds with that same collective attentiveness. Multiple fan eyewitnesses from the Madrid Day 2 front sections described being immediately aware when the barrier situation began to unfold. People who had their eyes fixed on Jimin on the stage a second before suddenly felt the shift in the energy nearby and turned to see what was happening. And what they did in that moment, staying calm, moving back from the immediate area, alerting security rather than trying to intervene themselves, looking out for the people directly around them, that response speaks to the emotional intelligence and the maturity of this fanbase in a way that I think deserves real recognition. This is not something that happens by accident. This is the result of more than a decade of BTS and Army building a fan culture together that has its own clear values, its own standards of behavior, and its own understanding of what it means to be part of this community. And the Madrid moment did not exist in isolation. Throughout this Ararang World Tour, there have been multiple moments that have sparked similar conversations about safety and community protection, and Army has shown up for those conversations every single time. Think about what happened in Las Vegas during the North American leg of the tour. There was a moment involving Jimin near the front barrier at Allegiant Stadium that went massively viral, but for the most beautiful, wholesome reason imaginable. As Jimin moved along the performance catwalk toward the audience, a female security guard stationed near the barrier maintained her professional composure while clearly fighting back a smile as Jimin looked in her direction during his performance. The contrast between her determination to stay focused and her obvious delight at the moment was immediately captured by fan cameras and shared everywhere. Fans called her the strongest soldier in Las Vegas. They said she deserved a pay raise for surviving that moment with her professionalism intact. The clip reached millions of views across platforms and became one of the most beloved viral moments of the entire North American run. But here is what that moment really illustrated beyond the warmth and the humor. It showed the kind of environment that surrounds a BTS performance. Even the people whose job is to maintain order, the security staff, the event workers, the venue personnel, find themselves drawn into the warmth of what BTS creates on that stage. Jimin's ability to connect with every person in a room, regardless of who they are or what their role is something that Army has long described as the Jimin effect, and it is real, and it is visible, and it touches everyone in the space. That warmth, that connection, is also what makes the protective instinct feel so urgent when something threatens to disrupt it. Then there was the incident from February 2026 that was reported by Dispatch. An individual had allegedly been presenting herself falsely as a member of the media press corps in order to get physically close to Jimin at public appearances. According to the reporting, this was not even the first time she had attempted this. It was a pattern of behavior that had apparently been going on for some time before actual journalists in the press line confronted her and she was removed. Security intervened and BTS was safely escorted without any harm occurring. But the story spread through Army networks within hours, and the community response was exactly what you would expect from this fanbase: immediate, organized, and serious. Fan protection accounts circulated the details of what had happened. Discussions about idle security at airports and public appearances intensified significantly. Messages of concern for Jimin's safety were everywhere. And the underlying message from Army was unified and unmistakable: this behavior is stalking, it is dangerous, it is not fandom, and it will not be normalized or excused. The Madrid Day 2 incidents fit into this larger pattern. They are not isolated events, they are part of an ongoing conversation that Army has been having throughout this entire tour cycle about what it means to responsibly exist in the same physical spaces as the artists you love, and what responsibility fans carry toward each other and toward the people on that stage. Now let me zoom out even further, because I think it is worth putting all of this into the broader context of what the Ararang World Tour actually represents and why the stakes feel so high. This tour began on April 9, 2026, in Goyang, South Korea, marking BTS's return to the stage as a complete group after their period of mandatory military service. All 7 members completed their service by late 2025, and the Ararang Tour is their first full group comeback, spanning more than 88 dates across 34 cities in 23 countries, running through 2026 and into 2027. This is the largest tour of BTS's career. The scale of it is almost difficult to comprehend. Tickets sold out in hours in every market they went on sale. The anticipation building up to the first shows was unlike anything even longtime Army had experienced before. Because it was not just a new album and a new tour, it was the end of a years-long separation. It was OT7 back together on the same stage. It was the moment that millions of fans around the world had been holding their breath for. And that emotional weight makes everything that happens inside these concert venues feel more significant. Every performance is carrying the weight of the years apart. Every moment that Jimin steps to the edge of the stage and reaches out toward the crowd carries the weight of the time when that was not possible. So when something disrupts the sanctity of that space, when someone in the crowd acts in a way that introduces fear or danger or disrespect into what should be a purely celebratory environment, the reaction from ARMY is not just about the incident itself. It is about protecting something that the entire community has worked incredibly hard to reach. Jimin specifically has been at the center of multiple safety-related conversations throughout this tour, and I think it is worth being honest about why. Part of it is simply the intensity of his connection with audiences. His stage presence, the way he performs, the way he interacts with the crowd, the way he moves across the catwalk extensions of the Ararang Tour's unique 360-degree stage, creates moments of genuine intimacy even inside a 66,000-person stadium. He performs in a way that makes individuals in the crowd feel personally seen and personally addressed, and that quality is something truly rare in live performance. It is also what makes the physical closeness between him and the front sections of the audience during shows feel so charged, in the best possible way when everything is right, and in a more anxious way when the barrier line is tested. ARMY protection accounts have been sharing safety guidelines consistently throughout the tour. The messaging is clear and it does not change: stay behind the barrier at all times. Do not attempt to touch or reach for performers who have not initiated contact. Do not push into the people around you. If you see something concerning, someone trying to breach the barrier, someone behaving in a way that makes you or others around you feel unsafe, alert venue security staff immediately and do not attempt to intervene on your own. These are not complicated rules. They are basic principles of shared space and mutual respect. And the vast, overwhelming majority of ARMY at every single show on this tour has followed them perfectly and created the kind of concert environment that BTS deserves and that fellow fans deserve. But the reminder is still necessary. Because the Madrid Day 2 moment showed what happens in the few seconds before security can respond, and what it showed was ARMY doing exactly what they were supposed to do. Staying calm. Not escalating. Letting the professionals handle it. And looking out for each other in the process. I want to close by talking about something that I think gets to the heart of why this community responds the way it does when these moments happen. The relationship between BTS and ARMY is genuinely unlike most artist-fan relationships in the history of popular music. It has been built over more than a decade of shared history, of BTS being extraordinarily open with their fans about their struggles, their fears, their personal growth, their creative processes. And of ARMY responding to that openness with a level of loyalty and protective love that has become one of the defining characteristics of modern music fandom. BTS have talked about feeling ARMY's presence as something physical on stage, about the energy in a room full of fans being something they can actually feel and draw from during performances. They have described their fans not as passive supporters but as genuine partners in everything they are trying to build as artists and as people. When you understand that relationship, when you understand the depth of what BTS and ARMY have built together over all of these years, then the response to Madrid Day 2 makes complete sense. ARMY was not just reacting to a concerning incident at a concert. They were protecting something sacred to them. They were asserting the values of a community they belong to and believe in. They were saying, clearly and loudly, this is not who we are, this is not what this space is for, and we are going to talk about it openly because that is how we make it better. And that is worth celebrating, even in the middle of talking about something tense and difficult. BTS will continue the European leg of the Ararang World Tour after Madrid, Brussels, London, Munich, Paris, and beyond, all the way through to Manila in March 2027. At every stop, 66,000 or more fans will fill those stadiums and turn them purple and sing every word and hold their light sticks up and create something beautiful together. And at every stop, ARMY will also be watching out for each other. Because that is what this community does. That is what it has always done. And Madrid Day 2 was just another reminder of how deeply that protective instinct runs. If you are attending any upcoming dates on the Ararang World Tour, please look out for the people around you. Follow venue guidelines. Stay behind the barriers. Report anything concerning to security staff immediately. You are part of something bigger than just a concert experience, you are part of a community that has a responsibility to itself and to the artists it loves. Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad you are here. If you found this video valuable, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment below telling me which city you are catching BTS in on the Ararang tour. I want to know where ARMY is showing up next. I will see you in the next video.